I read this book in 26 minutes and I'm feeling kind of motivated because I better understand soul power, Afro-futurism, and exile. So let's get into it. This is 26-minute reads with me, Mya D, and this reading vlog is kind of like my accountability space because in these videos, I share with you my takeaways from book number 2 of my 26 to 26 challenge. I'm reading 26 minutes per day. So this is more like soul reading rather than speed reading. It's also an act of self-love and investment into myself and a way of providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. Hoping that you'll join me along in this journey by reading along with me and dropping some comments down there in that comment section so that there's an actual dialogue going on. Well, this week I read pages from the acknowledgement to pages 45 of Dancing the Afrofuture. This book is written by Dr. Halifu Osumare, and let's get into these takeaways. Let me get my notes. Takeaway number 1 is soul power. And I love the way that Dr. Osumare weaves concepts from other books and other ideas in her writing. And that first concept that we're discussing is soul power. So on page 9, we find these words, and I quote, "Secondly, through soul power, the body manifests spirit. Soul represents the attribute of the body, mind, that mediates between flesh and spirit. It is manifested in the feel of a performance." End quote. Now, let's be clear. The concept of soul power is not new to me, but that term is, and that's why it caught my attention. This book demonstrates something that Dr. Lynette Overby discusses in her book, Undergraduate Research in Dance. In that book, we're extended this idea of imagining research and writing as a conversation. So as you're stepping into the conversation, meaning you're conducting your research or you're disseminating your research, as you step into that conversation, you want to add to the conversation so that it goes forward, right? And that requires that you have knowledge of what was already said so that the conversation can actually go forward. This previous quote was taken from Brenda Dixon Gottschalk's assessment of how Misty Copeland describes a good dancer. At this point in the world, we speak many different languages and we go from group to group, which means that there are at times several different ways to discuss a similar thing. That thing might have a different name in different circles of people. That same concept is going to have a different name for different audiences, to put it simply. Misty Copeland describes a good dancer as someone who moves past technical ability and has a mastering of interpretive flourishes. This is also echoed in Tamara Williams' book, one of the books that we read in one of my other challenges, Giving Life to Movement. In that book, it describes Sylvester technique, and we are reminded that the technique should not disrupt the dance or the message. Brenda Dixon Gottschalk discusses this concept also in her book, The Black Dancing Body, and this concept is referred to as the soul. The soul being the thing that makes it a good dance and that makes it a good dancer. Dr. Osumare mentions this idea of soul and soul power as being the motivating force for her work, as it is the intersection of the mind, the body, and the spirit. This intersection is also a part of Dunham philosophy, so the Dunham technique philosophy. While called by a different name, the echoing of the sentiment is the same. We are reminded that a good dancer is more than one who performs the dance steps. They've mastered the interpretive flourishes. Let's say that again. They move through the technique, sharing a piece of their soul and demonstrating their soul power. That was a lot. That was a lot. And as we step into takeaway number 2, I think that this is a good time to say that while I have several decades of experience as a dancer, an educator, and a curriculum writer, I am not the know-all, be-all for this book. I'm simply providing a space for us to share ideas so that we can grow stronger as educators and be better educators for those that are in front of us and those that are coming after us. Takeaway number 2 is Afrofuturism. I'm going to offer 3 quotes. I'm going to offer 3 quotes from this section of the book, which can all be found on or around page 11 of the book. The first one is, and I quote, "Afrofuturism is a current manifestation of the Africanist culture where past, present, and future collide," end quote. Although this is a term that I am familiar with through lived experience, I can honestly say that it wasn't until recently that I had to describe it and to define it. And I think that's in part because of the community that I grew up in. At times, there's no need to name a thing that we're all engaging with, right? We know what it is. But then at some point, there's someone who makes a decision to give it a name so that it can be referred to. Afrofuturism. It actually wasn't until I was working at a PWI, predominantly white institution, that I had to describe it. So I'm sitting in a production meeting and I'm speaking to the team about my concepts for the production, right? And then someone on the team says, like Afrofuturism. And I was like, yes, like Afrofuturism. Now, to be clear, that this was not a person of the African diaspora, right? So I am the only person in this space that is of the African diaspora. And when I said yes, their face, they smiled. And then we had to describe what Afrofuturism and give examples of Afrofuturism to the rest of the production team. So we're talking about a team of maybe 25 to 30 people. The person that was like, Afrofuturism, started giving examples of like Basquiat, Wakanda's, from Marvel's Black Panther, and also giving examples like they do in the book of Harriet Tubman's work and following the North Star, all as being examples of Afrofuturism. Osumare uses Katherine Dunham's work in the movie Stormy Weather as an example of Afrofuturism. And I was like, dang, I never really thought of that. But, Osumare is amazing. And describes this as a way of imagining ourselves and the way that we want to live, the way that we want to navigate time and space, and then actionizing all of that, right? So to give a brief history, Katherine Dunham demonstrates Afrofuturism in Stormy Weather because the original intention for that scene, this dance scene, was for the Dunham dancers to take on the role of street people that were typical in cinema during that time. But Dunham offers, here's a second quote, Dunham offers another possibility of Black self-envisioning beyond the white stereotypical gaze, end quote. We're offered Black humanity through another lens, and we're taken to this tropical island where the dancers then are dressed in these softer materials, and they dance this modern dance sequence that's infused with cultural roots. I'll end this takeaway with that third quote. Here we go. Quote, "Viewing time and space," sorry, the phone tried to shut down on me. "Viewing time and space, historically, we are no longer focused on then and now, but next, and how we can imaginatively shape it and manifest an awesome, salutary future reality," end quote. This section of the book reminds us that Afrofuturism is more than imagining. It's putting to action what you've actually imagined. I like that. Takeaway number 3 is Exile. And on page 40, we find these words. "At this point, Miss Dunham was 85 years old, living in St. Louis, and exiled from her second home in Haiti due to another coup and the ousting of her friend, the duly elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. I knew that Dunham had a second home in Haiti. I knew that she had this strong connection to Haiti, but I didn't know that she was in exile or that she experienced exile before reading this portion of the book. And I want to do some further research to understand the logistics of that exile. What I'm actually drawn to in this sharing of this experience is that this is yet another example of Afrofuturism. It is imagining an idea and moving forward, actionizing that idea. Cleo Parker Robinson and Dr. Osumare used the challenge of exile as an opportunity. They plan and execute a project that celebrates the Dunham Company's first time in Hawaii, but also introduces a new generation of dancers to Katherine Dunham and gives Miss Dunham, Dr. Dunham, a tropical vacation. One that is different from her second home in Haiti, but still a reprieve from the main island, which is the continental United States. From a position of eldership, Dr. Dunham, Ms. Katherine Dunham, speaks to a multi-generational audience about topics from Haiti to metaphysics to dances to other controversial issues. And from the stage voices her wonderful mantra, "I do not do things alone." All of this serves as a reminder to make opportunities out of challenges, to work with community, to have a stronger impact on your community. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for a good read, so if you have a title, feel free to drop that in the comments below. Or just drop a book emoji so that I know that you're here with me. Remember to take a look at those details. There's some great things in the details. And if you liked this video or found it interesting in any kind of way, like this video and subscribe. Spread a good word. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.